Hello everyone. In this video we'll explore how the single project manager chatbot can transform the way you plan, track, and manage your Jira projects with speed and simplicity. So, here's what we'll be covering in this lesson. We'll begin by looking at why single project manager matters and how it can make your work as a project manager, program manager, or business analyst much more efficient. After that, I will introduce you to the idea of custom GPTs as your personal assistants in the pocket, and you'll see how this chatbot experience is designed with a smooth interface and user experience in mind. Once we understand the basics, we will walk through the account and login flow, so you know exactly how to get started. From there, we'll connect the bot to Jira and learn how to add projects, followed by a step where we check the project context, users, issue types, statuses, and fields so that the bot can act reliably within your environment. Next, we'll explore how to create work at speed, epics, stories, tasks, and bugs, using best practices and AI-generated descriptions. We'll then move into querying Jira with natural prompts, where you will see how the bot transforms plain English into powerful JQL queries and returns neatly formatted results. After querying, we'll dive into sprint analytics, where I'll show you how to generate charts and aggregated insights that will help you identify bottlenecks and plan more effectively. Then we'll take a look at updating and bulk edits, where you'll learn how to safely modify multiple items at once without breaking data. Finally, we'll explore AI-assisted sprint planning, where you'll see how the bot can analyze story points, respect velocity, and prepare a sprint plan in seconds. By the end of this lesson, you'll not only know how to set up and use single project manager, but also how to make it a reliable partner in your daily project management routine. So, let's get started. Imagine you walk into a status meeting with a live dashboard in your pocket, a conversational partner that understands Jira structure, speaks your team's language, and turns plain English into consistent, auditable actions. That is exactly what Single Project Manager is, a focused AI chatbot designed to help you create, query, update, and analyze Jira work without wrestling with forms, filters, or scattered spreadsheets. At its core, the bot acts like a project copilot. Instead of jumping between Jira boards, custom filters, and ad hoc reports, you describe your intent. Create an epic with 4 user stories. Show high-priority bugs due this week, or some story points for the current sprint by status, and the bot performs the correct sequence of Jira compliance steps. Because it first learns your project context, users, issue types, statuses, and field IDs, it prevents common mistakes such as invalid transitions, missing fields, or misapplied issue types. In other words, it safeguards quality while accelerating throughput. Why use it? First, speed and consistency. Creating well-formed tickets with acceptance criteria or moving a batch of tasks across sprints becomes a guided conversation rather than a manual slog. Second, situational awareness. With a single prompt, you can surface precisely the issues you care about, paginate through results when there are many, and even transform raw items into aggregated insights, like backlog distribution by status or total story points in a sprint, ready for stand-ups or reviews. Third, focus. Because the bot returns structured tables, links to issues, and clear next step options, you spend less time configuring tools and more time making decisions. Most importantly, Single Project Manager bridges the gap between planning and action. You can sketch a mini plan in chat, define the epic, outline stories, set due dates, then pull a health check of blockers, and immediately convert that plan into Jira updates that your team can execute. As a result, project managers, program managers, and business analysts gain a reliable mechanism to go from intent to implementation, from questions to evidence, and from data to decisions, all within one conversation. Before we dive into the demonstration, let me briefly explain what GPTs actually are and how they fit into our work as professionals. OpenAI, the company behind this technology, is primarily a research organization. This means that many of the tools, including the GPTs feature, are available for you to test for free. However, the free access does come with very strict limitations. You might be able to try the concepts I'm showing today, but your usage will be capped rather quickly. Now, for those who choose a paid plan, the situation is very different. With a subscription, the limits are much higher, and the GPTs feature becomes a tool you can truly rely on every day. I should clarify, I am not here to promote subscriptions or sell you anything, it's entirely up to you. But I do want to make an important point. In today's AI-driven era, not having a powerful, customizable assistant at your disposal means falling behind. Your competitors, whether they are other companies or even your colleagues, who do adopt these tools will be able to work faster, more effectively, and with higher quality. That is why in this lesson I want to show you a practical example. I have created my own custom GPT bot. In the attachments to this lesson you will find the link so you can explore it yourself. Today we will not focus on the process of building such bots. That will be the subject of a separate lesson. Instead, we will focus on usage. How exactly you can apply a bot like this in your daily work, and how it can significantly boost your performance as a project manager, program manager, or business analyst. Here on the screen, you can see a collection of AI applications based on generative AI that I have developed. And in fact, there are quite a lot of them available on the website. Each one is designed with a different purpose in mind. Some of them focus on professional use, such as business analysis or project management, where they help you write requirements, analyze tasks, or structure work breakdowns. Others are tailored for personal growth and career advancement, for instance, chatbots that can prepare you for interviews or even help you practice learning new languages. But not everything has to be strictly serious. Among these applications, you will also find lighter and more playful tools, such as an excuse generator for work, or small interactive games that show just how flexible this technology can be. The idea is to demonstrate not only the productivity side of AI, but also its ability to bring creativity and fun into our daily routines. In the attachments to this lesson, you will find links to these applications, so I encourage you to check the page aiapps.itbulls.com when you have some time. I am quite sure you will discover both useful and entertaining tools that you would genuinely enjoy using. Some may help you in your professional life. Others may simply make you smile, but together they show the broad spectrum of possibilities that custom GPTs can unlock. Now, let me share my screen and get started with a demonstration. You've heard the theory, but it's always more impactful to see how these ideas work in practice. I will walk you step by step through my custom GPT bot, showing you how it responds to real project management and business analysis tasks. As you watch, I encourage you to think about how you might apply the same approach in your own projects and how much time and effort it could save you. And in case you will have any questions, please post your questions below the video and I will be happy to answer. Now let us take a closer look at the interface of the chatbot itself. At first glance, it might appear very simple, a single chat window with just a few buttons. But in reality, it is designed to be both intuitive and functional. One important detail I would like you to notice is the name of the bot at the top of the screen. If you click on it, you will find additional options, including the possibility to leave a review. And I want to emphasize this. Leaving a review is not just a formality. It directly motivates me, as the creator, to continue building new bots and enhancing their functionality. At the same time, it also helps other professionals and students to discover these tools more easily, because reviews are a way to share your experience and guide others towards something that might be useful for them as well. Another practical aspect you should be aware of involves how the bot communicates with the backend. Every time you create or update a task, the bot must send that information securely to the server, where it is stored and processed. By default, you may be asked to confirm this action again and again, which can interrupt the flow of your work. To avoid this, you can once again click on the bot's name, go to the privacy settings and select the option Always Allow. This setting ensures that the bot can transmit the necessary data automatically without prompting you each time for approval. In other words, it gives you a much smoother and more seamless user experience. If you keep the setting as it is, you will continue receiving confirmation requests for every operation, and while this may offer you an extra layer of control, it can also slow down your interaction significantly. When we begin working with single AI bot, the very first step is always authentication. This is essential because all of your tasks, charts, and analytics need to be tied to a secure account. Without logging in, the system cannot store or recall your data, so we must start by either creating a new account or accessing an existing one. Let me show you how this looks in practice. Suppose you are a brand new user. In the chat, you would type the following command: create account. At this point, the bot will ask you to choose a username and a password. It is best to use your email address as the username, because that ensures uniqueness and makes it easier to remember. For the sake of example, I will just enter test100@signtest.com. For the password, of course, you should select something strong, ideally a combination of letters, numbers, and symbols. I create demo accounts, so I will enter something very primitive and simple like test password. Save your credentials in a secured place in order to access the data from any chat. Once you have done this, the bot will send the request to the backend. You need to confirm sending data once per conversation by selecting this checkbox, and all the next times in this chat you won't be asked for permission to send data. But it looks like there is a defect on OpenAI side. No matter if you select this checkbox or not, you will be asked for permission each time. Not a big deal. I hope it will be fixed soon. And if everything is correct, you will receive a confirmation that the account has been created successfully. From this moment on, your credentials are stored for the duration of the chat session, and you can begin managing tasks immediately. If you will start a new chat with this bot, then you need to log in with your saved credentials. So, let us imagine the second case, when you already have an account and simply need to log in. In the chat, let me open another chat window. You would type login. The bot will then prompt you for your username and password. I will just enter my credentials. test100@sign.com. Password test. GPT is smart enough to understand how to extract login and password, so don't worry about that. We confirm that our data will be sent to IT Bulls. That is my company's API. If you happen to mistype the password, the system will return an error and ask you to try again. This is an important safeguard because it prevents unauthorized access. But what if the problem persists? In that case, you can always contact support through the provided contact, and they will help you resolve the issue. A practical tip here is to store your login and password securely, and whenever possible, reuse the same account across different chat windows. This way, no matter where you are working, at the office, at home, or on a new device, you will still be able to access your tasks and plans instantly, without starting from scratch. To get real value from Single Project Manager, we begin by connecting it to Jira. Think of this as introducing two colleagues so they can work together seamlessly. The chatbot needs your Jira identity to act on your behalf, and it needs to know which project you want to manage. We'll do this in a guided, menu-driven flow so that, instead of hunting through settings, you can simply enter a digit, press Enter, and follow the hints on screen. First, a quick word about the token. Jira uses a personal API token, a long random string that functions like a key. For programmatic access, it's safer than a password because you can revoke it at any time, and it scopes access to your account. In the video, I'll paste mine off screen so the secret never appears. I recommend you do the same in practice. And if you're unsure where to get this token, don't guess. Just ask the bot in plain English. For example, I can type, "Explain me where I can get this token." The assistant will respond with step-by-step guidance for generating a token in your Atlassian account. Once you know where to find it, we proceed with the setup. I already followed the steps from this guide and prepared all necessary data. Your username is your email that you use to log in Jira. Your token is the token you generated following instructions. And project URL may look just like you can see on the screen. Just copy a link from the board and bot will identify the project key and all project details required for further work. Because of the security reasons, I will pause video now. I will paste message with my data to the bot in order to configure it, and we will continue. After a brief confirmation, I verify that everything is wired up by asking for the list of configured projects. This is useful not only to double-check the connection, but also to switch context when you manage more than one project. Show my configured projects, and you can configure multiple Jira projects and manage them as you wish. During the project configuration, bot analyzes fields that are present in the project and selects specific fields that are needed, like for example story points, custom field, or sprint custom field. If multiple projects appear, the bot will present them as a numbered list, and you would need to select active projects that you want to work with. From this moment on, the assistant knows my site, my project key, and my identity, which means every subsequent action. Creating stories, querying sprints, updating priorities will be executed against the correct Jira context without additional setup. What I want you to observe is the blend of security and speed. Credentials are stored safely, secrets never need to be displayed, and the entire flow reduces to natural conversation punctuated by small numbered choices. Moreover, because the system supports multiple projects, switching focus is frictionless. You can verify the current scope at any time and select a different project with one digit. With the connection complete, we're ready to move from configuration to creation, turning ideas into epics, stories, and bugs in a matter of seconds. Once we have established the connection to Jira, the bot already knows the context. If you want to recall the project context and you want to refresh the knowledge about project you are working in right now, you can just type into the chat the following request: get project context. This feature becomes extremely useful when switching between different projects. For example, I often work with multiple teams across separate Jira projects. Each project may define its own set of issue types, and sometimes I cannot assign a task to a particular person simply because that user is not part of the project. By fetching the project context, I can quickly verify which users are available and which issue types are supported, ensuring that my requests align with the specific rules of each project. I also can check the issue types available with their workflows to make sure I remember all statuses in this project for each Jira issue type. Suppose this project supports epic, story, task, bug, and subtask. Each type comes with its allowed statuses. For instance, story might transition from to do to in progress to done, while bug could include an additional status like blocked. This is just an example to show you that workflow may be different for different issue types. By learning these rules in advance, the assistant ensures that when I request an update, say moving a task to in review, it validates that such a transition is legal for that issue type. Finally, the context also reveals field metadata. Jira often hides field IDs behind user-friendly names, such as story points, which internally might be called custom field 10016. When we ask for aggregated data, like the total number of story points completed in a sprint, the assistant needs this mapping to query Jira correctly. Once the project context is in place and checked, we can move from preparation to action. This is where the single project manager truly demonstrates its value: the ability to create epics, stories, tasks, bugs, and other issue types quickly, with best practice content, and without compromising on quality. Let's begin with the epic. In traditional Jira, you might spend several minutes filling out fields, writing a description, and structuring acceptance criteria. With the bot, this becomes a concise conversational step. I can simply say, create an epic, check out refactor, and generate description with acceptance criteria.
Immediately, the assistant creates an epic and provides me with the link. Let me open this link and see what was created. We can see that single AI bot produced a summary, generated a structured description, and included acceptance criteria in bullet form. This saves time and also enforces consistency across the backlog.
Once the epic is created, the natural next step is to add user stories beneath it. Instead of creating them one by one through the Jira interface, I can batch them. For example, create 4 user stories under epic. Checkout refactor. Implement persistent shopping cart. Add payment retry mechanism. Validate shipping address formats. Integrate analytics for checkout flow. Each story should have a due date next month and priority high. In response, the bot generates all 4 stories. Let's check links. Each user story has a proper summary, a description drawn from context, assigned due dates, and the specified priority. The URLs of the created issues appear right on screen, and I can quickly verify them in Jira. Now let's consider a different type of work item, a bug. Here the bot again accelerates quality. Instead of manually writing a format, I can leverage its built-in structure. Create a bug. Payment page crashes on Safari. Include repro steps, expected behavior, and actual behavior. The assistant then produces a ticket that contains the essential elements every developer expects. Steps to reproduce, what should happen, and what actually happened. You can always adjust it if you want, but this will be always faster than creating tickets from scratch. This ensures that bugs are actionable and not vague. But work creation does not stop at backlog items. It is also sprint aware. Suppose I want to create 2 tasks directly in the active sprint. First, I pull the sprint metadata, show active sprint. And then, with the sprint identified, I can add new work directly into it. Create 2 tasks in the active sprint. Optimize checkout page loading time, add unit tests for cart persistence, assign them on John. Of course, that is not a good practice to add tasks in active sprint, so don't repeat this at home and at your job. We are doing this just to demo how our bot works. The tasks were created, and this time they already have an assignee. Since there is only one John in the project context, the bot was able to identify the correct team member automatically. However, if you have multiple team members with the same first name, I recommend specifying their full name to avoid any ambiguity. Now tasks are assigned on John, and as you can see, the assistant assigns them automatically to the sprint context, which reduces the need for manual placement later. Now, a few important guidelines. First, remember that the bot can generate descriptions automatically from the conversation. This is particularly valuable for consistency. Every ticket will carry a meaningful description even if I provide only a summary. Second, unless I explicitly specify it, the bot will not set assignees or story points. This helps prevent accidental allocations and keeps responsibility clear. Third, the assistant always respects the allowed issue types and statuses defined in the project context, so it will never create an item outside of Jira's rules. And here's where things get even more exciting. If you recall from one of my earlier videos, I demonstrated the single business analyst AI bot. What makes this ecosystem powerful is the fact that you can combine the results of different bots. For example, I might first ask the business analyst bot to draft a user story, perhaps something like single business analyst. Create a user story. As a customer, I want to retry payment if it fails so that I can complete my order. Generate a user story titled too. Once I have that, I can switch back to Single Project Manager and say, create a user story based on this description with 5 story points. The 2 assistants work hand in hand. The business analyst formulates the story and the project manager operationalizes it in Jira. What used to take a dozen clicks and careful typing now flows naturally from a short conversation. This is the essence of creating work at speed.
Once we have created work items, The next challenge is finding exactly the information we need, without wasting time building and maintaining Jira filters. This is where querying with natural language truly shines. Instead of writing complex JQL by hand, you describe what you want, and the assistant translates it into the correct query, returning results in a clean and readable format. Let me begin with a very common scenario. Checking my current workload. Suppose I want to see all issues assigned to me that are not yet done, and I would like them ordered by priority. In the chat I simply type, show my current workload, issues assigned to me not done, sorted by priority. The assistant responds with a neatly formatted table that includes the key, summary, status, and priority of each item. If there are more than 20 results, it also shows me the total count and suggests moving to the next page. So I can just ask it to show me my remaining items. This way I can paginate through the entire list without losing track.
Now, let's try a different perspective and look at open bugs in the project. I may not want all fields, only the ones most relevant for triage: summary, priority, assignee, sprint, and due date. So I ask, show all open bugs with fields: summary, priority, assignee, sprint, due date. The result is once again displayed in a clear tabular format, showing exactly the data I need for decision making. No extra noise, no hidden columns, just the essentials. Finally, let's consider a case where I want to identify stories that are blocked or overdue. This requires combining filters for both status and due dates. Instead of writing complicated JQL myself, I simply say, show me stories that are blocked or overdue. The assistant generates the proper JQL behind the scenes, retrieves the matching items, and presents them in a structured table. With one glance, I know what work is at risk and who owns it. What you should notice here is the value of conversational querying. Project managers and business analysts can instantly produce status views that normally take several minutes of clicking through Jira's filter builder. Moreover, because the assistant understands pagination, total counts, and field selection, it scales effortlessly from quick checks to more comprehensive reviews. This transforms JQL from a technical skill into a natural dialogue, making data retrieval accessible to anyone on the team. Once the backlog is in place and stories are flowing through the pipeline, the natural question every project manager faces is, where are we stuck? To answer that question effectively, we need more than just lists of tasks. We need aggregated insights that reveal patterns, highlight bottlenecks, and guide our decisions in stand-ups, sprint reviews, and planning sessions. Single Project Manager gives us these insights directly through conversational analytics and charts. Let us start with a simple but powerful case: the distribution of backlog items by status. This gives us an immediate picture of how much work is waiting to start, how much is in progress, and how much is already completed. In the chat, I can request it very naturally. Show backlog distribution by status. Within seconds, the assistant fetches the relevant Jira data, groups items by their statuses, and presents a result. If I notice that a large slice of work is stuck in review, for instance, I know exactly where to focus the conversation in the next stand-up. And like this, you can request different analytics: number of items in specific status in specific sprint, calculate average velocity for the past 3 completed sprints, and any analytics like this. The outcome of all this is simple yet powerful. In just a few lines of chat, you can produce the kind of insights that normally require dashboards and manual reports. And most importantly, you can answer the fundamental project management question, where are we stuck, in seconds. Up to this point, we have seen how the assistant can create and query work and even generate analytics. But projects are dynamic. Items change status, sprints shift, and priorities get adjusted. This is why the ability to perform updates and bulk edits directly through conversation is so valuable. What would normally require a series of repetitive clicks in Jira
can be condensed into a single clear instruction. Let me show you a simple but common case. Moving several stories to the next sprint. We know that Jira restricts batch operations to a maximum of 10 items per request, so the assistant respects that limit. In the chat, I can simply write, move these items to the sprint 2, LT 51, LT 52. The assistant processes the request, updates the sprint field for each story, and confirms the action. If I had more than 10 items, it would split the update into multiple save requests automatically. Another practical example is changing the status of several tasks. Suppose a set of items has been reviewed and is now ready to be worked on. Instead of opening each one, I type, update these tasks. Lit 277, Lit 278. Change status to in progress. The bot validates that the transition is legal for each issue type because it knows the project context, and then applies the update consistently. Sometimes we also need to clear a field. For instance, imagine that a story was mistakenly added to a sprint and we want to remove it, or wrong story points value was set into user story. In Jira, clearing a field must be explicit. Leaving it blank is not enough. In the chat, I can write remove story points from story elite 58. The bot sets the story point field to empty value, which is the correct way to clear it, and confirms the update. Finally, consider adjusting priorities on selected bugs. This is another case where bulk edits save time. Now, two important callouts here. First, you should never send empty fields you do not intend to clear, because Jira will interpret that as erasing information. The assistant helps prevent this by including only the fields you explicitly want to update. Second, you should only update what you requested. If you change status, it updates status and nothing else. If you change priority, it updates only priority. This ensures data integrity and avoids accidental overrides. In summary, updating and bulk editing through the chatbot is not just faster, it is safer. By respecting project rules, handling batch limits, and carefully controlling which fields are touched, the assistant allows us to keep Jira accurate while dramatically reducing the overhead of manual edits. And now we come to one of the most exciting capabilities of Single Project Manager: the ability to help us with planning. Traditionally, sprint planning is a very manual exercise. We open Jira, we calculate team velocity, we try to juggle story points, and we drag issues between sprints until the numbers make sense. With the assistant, this process becomes much faster and far more intelligent. Imagine that you already know your team's velocity, for example, 16 story points per sprint. Instead of calculating manually, you can simply ask the bot to do the heavy lifting. In the chat, I can type analyze tasks in sprint 2. Plan sprint 2 so it has only 16 story points. Move the rest to sprint 3. At this point, the assistant analyzes the backlog items that are already linked to sprint 2. It sums up their story points, compares the total to the velocity you specified, and then selects which items fit within the 16-point limit with respect to priority. The remaining stories are automatically moved into sprint 3. Now, depending on the context, the bot might double-check some operations. For example, it may ask for confirmation before moving some items, or it might clarify if certain items without estimates should be included. Once confirmed, the assistant executes the necessary updates in Jira. The result is that Sprint 2 is instantly aligned with your capacity. No manual dragging, no endless recalculations. Just a sprint that is ready to start, balanced to the velocity of your team. And when you manage multiple teams, these AI bots save you tons of time. This is where the real magic happens. Instead of spending precious meeting time on mechanics, the team can focus on strategy and prioritization. The assistant takes care of structure, while you and your colleagues decide what matters most for delivering value. In other words, the bot transforms sprint planning from a tedious administrative task into a collaborative, decision-driven conversation. If you will have more ideas or feature requests, you always know how to find me. My contacts are available in the course, below the video, and on the official website of my company itbulls.com. Now let us take governance to an even higher level. Imagine that a user wants to delete their entire account. The process here is even stricter. The bot will issue a clear warning reminding you that deletion does not apply only to single secretary, but to all connected single applications, including shopping pile, social guru, accountant, and others. In other words, your account and all associated data across the entire ecosystem will be permanently removed. After this action, the only operations available in that chat are logging in again with an existing account or creating a completely new one. Let me remove this demo account. Remove the current account. And if you will try to log in with your credentials, you will receive error. Account doesn't exist. I will open a new chat window to show you this. Let me try to enter login command. Login command. And then I enter my login and password. This safeguard is not only a technical feature, but also a matter of accountability. It ensures that users understand the impact of their decisions, and it protects both personal data and organizational workflows from being lost unintentionally. That's all what I plan to discuss with you in this lesson. Let's recap what we've learned today. We discovered why Single Project Manager is valuable and how it can act as a personal assistant in your pocket. We explored the chatbot interface, walked through the account and login flow, and connected Jira projects with ease. We checked the project context to understand users, issue types, and fields that keep our work consistent. We created epics, stories, tasks, and bugs at speed, and saw how the bot generates high-quality content automatically. We queried Jira using natural prompts and received neatly formatted results without writing complex JQL. We analyzed sprints with metrics, updated multiple items safely, and even used AI to plan a sprint based on velocity. That's all for this lesson. Thank you so much for your attention. Have a great day and see you in the next lesson.